But as long as you put the work in and take action, then you can do it. Just believe in yourself.
Do the main things at the start, get that sorted, and everything will fall into place.
Thanks so much for coming down to my house. Congratulations on your success.
Thank you.
You guys have been doing super well with rent to rents, immerse yourself in property. Why don't you just give me an intro as to kind of how you guys met and how you got started?
I think it was 2018. We went to Woking Football Club. So that's how we first met, really. We was playing football together.
Yeah.
And then we went to the college, Woking College, to do the academy stuff. We was there for 2 years, and then Danny went off to uni, and then I carried on with football. And then as the pandemic started, we started working at Amazon. I was doing night shifts and he was doing morning shifts. And then after not speaking for a few months, we sort of came back together. He saw me in one of the shifts and then we just started getting talking again from there, really.
Yeah. And what was it, when did you decide that you wanted to become business partners and do property?
So we was watching a lot of your videos. I think the first video I saw was the financial freedom where you did it yourself.
Yeah.
That just caught my eye. I think it was quite a high viewing video. And then just kept looking at the stuff you did. And I just discussed it really with Danny. I wanted to get into it.
Danny, you're such a traditional guy though. You're such like the old school mindset of get a job, get educated, go to uni. And you've kind of done that alongside property, which is crazy. Talk to me a bit about sort of, you know, why you got into property in the first place.
Yeah, so as Joe said, I met him in Amazon. He watched your videos, told me more about it. And then we ordered a couple books. And then on shift, we just read the books on break time. Got into it, booked onto the crash course, which was actually the last crash course before COVID hit. So in London, there was about 200 people in the room. We got really inspired, and then we got networking, and yeah, we ended up getting our first rent to rent like a month after.
And you joined the E Academy, and you did a lot of the online courses, and you sort of started working together. That first rent to rent, I think I came out to visit you at that property.
Yeah.
Do you still have that?
Yeah.
Oh, banging!
Yeah.
So you've had that years now then?
Yeah, it's coming to the end now actually.
Yeah.
So that property then, talk to me about how you got that.
There's actually multiple ways we've actually got each rent to rent. The first rent to rent we ended up buying, so we got off a deal sourcer. So yeah, we actually paid the fee without even seeing the property, so we actually just jumped straight in. We really wanted to do it so badly.
Which is risky.
It is risky,
yeah,
but the risk was mitigated actually from the actual deal itself. So we paid the fee, we went up there, we liked it, so we decided to pursue it. And
who was the guy that you bought? I'm sure, was he an academy member?
yeah, so Jamal, who you'd obviously interviewed as well, we saw him on here as well, so he had some credibility, and he sold the deal to us, we took it. But the deal was actually, it was $2,500 for the finder's fee, and then it was £800 deposit, £800 first month's rent.
Yeah.
But we had 10 weeks of free rent, and we tenanted it within 3 weeks. So we had, including deposits, we had the money that we spent on the deal back within the
Before our first payment.
3 months, and we had a 3-month break clause. So after those 3 months of free rent, we could have gave the place back anyway. So the risk was actually pretty small.
Why do you think? Why would Jamal sell it for $2.5 grand? Why would he not just do it himself?
So obviously it was a really good deal, but if he was concentrating on other areas or didn't have the time to do it himself,
right,
it's good to make quick cash to offload it, and also it gives people opportunities to get into the game as well.
Yeah.
So he was concentrating on other stuff. I think he was doing eviction around the same time, or he was concentrating on buying places. So he just thought he'd offload the deal to us and gave us a foot in the door.
I guess you can't take every opportunity that comes your way, can you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And if something's not in your patch, and this is the great thing about packaging and selling deals, about deal sourcing, is that when you're out doing deals like you guys are, and you're looking at properties and you're doing rent to rents and HMOs, sometimes you're going to come across stuff that doesn't work for you, but instead of just leaving it, why not package it and sell it to another academy member or to somebody that is in a better location, or is, you know, it makes sense. So that property then, how does it work then? How's that deal structured? And then we'll move on to other deals that you've done.
Yeah, so this HMO, so we pay the landlord guaranteed rent, and then we rent out room by room. And yeah, that's
How much do you pay the landlord?
£800.
£800. And then what are you renting the rooms out for?
About 400 each.
Okay, so about 1,600. Yeah. Okay, so you're making a bit of cash flow off of that each month. Yeah. How much profit does that property leave you with?
About 450, 500,
yeah.
fully tenanted. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, so for the first deal, it worked really well as well because we got pretty much all our money back straight away, and then it was just a nice little property tip.
And what did you learn from that first property? Because I know you've gone on to do a lot more deals. Your latest deal.
This is a funny story actually. So we tenanted it within 3 weeks, and the first time I went to tenant it, I finished work at Amazon at like 10:30 at night, shot straight up there, got there at like 3 a.m, slept there, had the viewing at 9, and it was a couple that turned up, and I didn't know at the time that I could actually put couples in, so I said no to them, and I went back home another 3 hours, but not knowing because I just jumped straight in, and now obviously I'd vet the tenant online, so I know exactly like before I do the viewing that they're potentially going to move in, but before we didn't know that, it was just learning as well as you go along.
Yeah, the first one was just about experience really. So there was so much that obviously you can learn, but a lot of it is just getting down and doing it, and you'll learn along the way. Yeah, so there's times where I'd go up to do a viewing and I'd book like 3 within 2 hour slots, and then the middle one wouldn't turn up. But now I'd know to sort of condense them down. So if one doesn't turn up, I've got one half an hour later. It doesn't matter. I don't have to stay there the whole day. Yeah. So there's a lot of learning in that process. Yeah,
if you space them out, like if you have a viewing at 1, a viewing at 2, a viewing at 3, a viewing at 4, and then one person cancels, you're waiting around for 2 hours. Yeah. You're better off doing a block viewing or you're having the 15-minute gaps. And I think you're right though. Like when you're actually doing it, that's just the ultimate way to learn. And of course, if you're doing it without any training whatsoever or any mentorship or any direction, then you're probably going to get burned. You're going to make massively poor decisions. But when you're doing it with training, with mentors, with people around you, then you know you massively grow. Are you still working at Amazon?
Not anymore. No. No, I had enough of that place.
Was it good? Did you enjoy it?
It was. For anyone starting out in rent to rent, it's the best thing you can do as a young person as well. Is get a job, work 5 to 6 days a week, get the money in the bank, go and get some education, learn something that's sustainable that you want to do, and then go and do it. But it was such a good way of just getting money in the bank, learning as well, and then sort of the risk is mitigated because you've got money coming in.
What are you doing right now? Are you full-time?
PT.
Are you PT?
I'm playing football as well, part-time. Yeah, so I'm quite busy all over the place, but because I do PT and I can sort of pick my hours, so if I need to call agents or landlords or anything, I can do that during the day and block off times. So that's why it's worked well. Whereas, 9 to 5, if you finish at 5 o'clock and then the agencies are shut, you can't really call them up. So it works quite well with liaising with landlords and agents and stuff. So.
And you're very good at football as well, right? Yeah, so it's a passion as well as getting paid.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. What are you doing for work right now?
So I'm just actively finding deals at the moment, doing viewings.
So you're not in a job or any kind, you're full-time property right now?
Yeah, at the moment, yeah.
And congratulations on graduating.
Yes, thank you. I'm happy with that. That's finished out the way now.
I was thinking I remember about a year ago you were like, I'm going to finish my uni, and I was like, I don't understand why, man. Like, what's the point of studying and getting a degree if you know you're never going to need a job? Yeah. But in your mind, you're saying exactly, but you spent a year, bro.
Yeah, I know.
What's the rationale behind that? Why did you want to finish studying at uni so bad? Because you've now graduated.
Well, I went to uni because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. It was more like socially accepted, time wasting. But at the same time, I didn't really let uni limit me. I know people go to uni and then they feel like they're stuck. All they can do is go to the library, learn, get your degree and party. But that's not really what we've done. Lockdown happened, went into full-time working, started the business, doing education alongside of it. So it didn't really limit me. But as soon as I started the property journey, I thought, right, I'm already too far in to stop uni. But I know now I just need to get it over and done with, and then I can crack on.
Yeah, which you've done. Yeah. So congratulations. What do you think about because I know you weren't too sure about him doing uni.
I think we both know now that if he could go back to the beginning, it probably wouldn't be the best idea. But I think at the same time, the fact that he's done it, he finished a degree, done a marathon as well. He's done the business stuff, worked full time. So I think that it's good that he knows that he can do all of that and he has a capability to juggle things. Yeah. So I think that's another thing that you've got to remember is that even though he was doing full-time studying, he was also studying property, doing it as well, and other things, which is big.
It just comes down to what you want, just prioritise. I think you should always take on more than you actually think you can do as well, because a lot of times, like when your back's against the wall, you're sort of forced to do it. So like one example was, I was like 3 days from doing my dissertation, and one of the tenants in Sheffield had snapped the door handle, so they couldn't get in and they were locked out, and this was like 4 in the morning, and I've got like the biggest thing going on with uni right now, but I managed to go up there, change the door handle. Luckily, I found a guy in toolbox, and there was the guy in a queue. He had a metal piece for the door handle, but I couldn't find it anywhere. I went everywhere during the day to get it, but didn't have it. But yeah, I guess luck was on my side. Fixed the door handle and then went and finished my degree. But it's just once your back's against the wall, you've got so many things going on. You're forced to succeed in a way because you've got no other choice.
I guess everyone's different. You are correct that when you've got pressure on yourself, Elon Musk said if you give yourself 6 months to tidy your bedroom, it will take 6 months. So you kind of put yourself, you were juggling with your uni, your education, also your property education on the academy, also actually doing the business. But I guess if that's how you like to work, if you were just full-time in property, maybe you'd have just been twiddling your thumbs and not going hard. What was your second deal then? What was the second deal? It was another rent to rent, right?
This was a good one. So this second one wasn't. We found this ourselves, direct to landlord this time. This was during lockdown as well, and the landlord actually couldn't tenant the place because uni students were going home. You were struggling to put it in, so we went and viewed it, put in an offer, paid no deposit, just straight rent. And yeah.
We agreed a couple of weeks as well before to get the property ready before we'd actually pay our first month's rent. So we negotiated no deposit and then like 3 weeks where we could jazz everything up, get all the bedding and stuff, and then pay our first month's rent.
Wow.
So we were able to book in viewings, take photos, and get people in before we really have to pay out.
How did you get around the referencing issues? Because you guys, when you got your first rent to rent, you were both teenagers.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, man.
Yeah.
You know, you're both teenagers. How did you get through? And you're working at Amazon and studying. So being able to say to a landlord, I can guarantee the rent. And it's like, really? How can you guarantee the rent? So how did you get around that?
Yeah, so we had the second Sheffield property that we found was actually on the same road as the one we had. And we obviously had that already tenanted. So we could say, we can help you here. We've already got nurses. Because this is right opposite the hospital, these HMOs. So we've already got nurses in this property, we're already doing it, we can show you, we can give you references from the landlord that we currently are doing the property with. We said that to him and he was happy to oblige.
Yeah, he didn't actually ask us for any like proper references, which was lucky. But the one that we've just done, we used our parents, didn't we? As like, because you have to clarify a certain amount of income. So we actually had to use our parents for that one. But there's always ways around stuff like that. Like,
there's always a way.
Yeah.
But you know what though? There's some people out there that are very like broke-minded people. I don't say broke people, I say broke-minded, because your bank balance will always follow your brain. Yeah. And they'll always find a reason as to why something can't work. So they'll go like, oh, how do you get around this though? What about this? What about that? You just said you secured your second property with no deposit, no upfront rent. So what did you pay to the landlord up front?
So it was nothing. It was a no money down deal.
Yeah.
So you paid nothing up front, no references.
No.
And what was the monthly profit on that when once you got that full?
So that was a decent one, wasn't it?
Yeah. $550.
About $550 a month profit. How long did it take to fill it?
That was like a month as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But we'd already, obviously, we got money in the bank before we'd had to pay out. So we already had enough. Even if we didn't have any money in the bank, we'd secured enough money that we'd be able to pay the first month's rent before obviously paying it. So
and at this point, as teenagers, like it's pretty incredible, really.
And then the reason we didn't pay any deposit is because all we said was the tenants are going to pay their deposit to us, so we hold their deposit. Therefore, you don't need a deposit because if anything went wrong, we would use their deposit.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's so genius because the landlord, of course, the landlord's going to want a deposit because something might break, something might go wrong. So you're going to say to the landlord. And of course, this is what we teach on the academy. You can say to the landlord, hey, obviously there needs to be a deposit in case something breaks. We need to make sure the property's in good condition. We'll be taking care of all the deposits. So when the tenants move in, we'll be holding them, we'll be registering them, which means you don't have to worry about anything. Is that okay? Yeah. And then suddenly, bang, you've got no deposit to have to pay. And then in terms of the rent, genius, what you guys did, which is just a case of, look, it's going to take us a few weeks to get the things ready. We'll start the contract from the 1st of next month. But would it be okay if we get the keys today so we can start staging it? Because we want to improve the property, we want to furnish it, we want to make it really attractive. The landlord's thinking, well, if I moved a normal tenant in, they'd usually have to give me a month's notice anyway. Right? So it's no different for the landlord, but from your perspective, bang, you can start marketing the property straight away so that come the 1st of next month, you've got full tenants ready to roll, which is just absolutely fantastic. Where did the drive come from? Like, the fact that you were studying full time, you're doing football, PTing, like to be able to bolt this on and get no money down, rent to rent. I mean, how did you even afford like the academy, for instance? Like that's obviously thousands of pounds. You both invested heavily into the training. Where did that drive come from, and how did you manage to get through those barriers to entry?
I don't think the drive was there at the beginning. It was just lockdown happened. I don't want to sit at home. I'll get a job, and then suddenly this money's coming in, and then I'm like 19, and I was like, crikey, I've got like 10 grand now.
Yeah.
Like just accumulated. I didn't even look at my account really. Just money coming in, and I'm like, right, I could actually do something here.
Yeah.
Then we obviously read the books, watched the videos, and thought, okay, now we can actually afford to do some training. That's how we're going to learn.
Yeah, and I think we're people where if we want to do something, we'll go 100% at it, and I think we're both quite like-minded in that sense. So as soon as we saw the videos, we were inspired pretty much straight away, and we could see ourselves in a year's time being that person. That's why we said when we did our first deal, looking at our first education, we was like, we're going to go on winners on a Wednesday. We're going to get there one day.
Yeah, I think people think like success is so far away, but if you start, the ball starts to roll and things starts to happen. You just need to get started, and then stuff starts to unfold.
Yeah, especially when you're younger, you think, oh, that's for older people, and I'm not going to get there yet. But hopefully, we're examples that you can start early, and as long as you put the work in, you're no different to someone that's 30, 40 that has the credibility. So if you can carry yourself well, negotiate, and then get educated properly, then anyone can do it.
How did you justify the investment into the training? Because that's like a lot of long savings and hard work. You're teenagers. How did you justify that decision?
Well, you have to think, a lot of people go to uni and spend 4 or 5 times the amount on a job that's going to be working for someone else, and it's not a guarantee at the end of it. Also, there's nothing wrong with it, but you're spending out all of that money, and there's no guarantee at the end that you're going to be earning a certain amount. Whereas, like your training, for example, you know, it's a lot less than if you was to go to university, and the prospects are a lot bigger, I'd say. So it's just a case of what your priorities are, and you're biting less of a bullet than if you were to spend a lot more on, say, a university degree.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm 19. If I've got this money, I'm going to go to the shop, I'm going to buy some clothes, a nice pair of trainers, and then that'll be it. Or I can actually use the money properly, get an education, learn how to do something that makes a lot of money, make even more. So I don't know why, it doesn't make sense why people don't do it, because they're just going to waste the money anyway. You might as well spend it on something valuable that's going to increase your knowledge. So yeah, it's a win-win really.
I guess everyone's just different, and for me, like when people pay thousands of pounds for my trainers who are teenagers, like for me it's a bit of responsibility, because it makes me think like, man, you know, if this doesn't work out, and I know I was on your case quite a lot, especially the first few months, like how's it going, what's happening, because it's like, you know, I just think massive respect, but myself as well. Like when I started out, I was 17 years old. I spent thousands of pounds going on property courses. At the time, people laughed at me, and I'm thinking, well, you're going to uni. It didn't make any sense to me, but I think it's almost just against the grain, isn't it? It's, you know, the status quo would say, oh, well, you're not going to get a degree at the end of the training. And it's like, yeah, but I'm not doing it to get a degree. I'm doing it because I want to be able to actually become financially free. Yeah. Talk to me about your latest deal.
Yeah, so it's in Brighton. It's
when did you get this one?
January this year.
Okay, so
yeah, so
6 months.
Yeah, so obviously Danny was at uni in Nottingham,
Yeah.
And we knew that he was moving down south in the summer when he finished his degree. So that's why we sort of looked at Brighton in terms of SA. And then at the start of the year, we was like, right, we're going to get an SA in Brighton. And then it took about 2 or 3 weeks of just continuous phone calls to agents. And then we finally secured an SA in Brighton. It was through an agency.
When you say SA, sorry, what do you mean?
Accommodation.
So that's a property that you're going to rent out on short stay lets?
Yeah. So,
okay.
Yeah, so it's a nightly basis. Obviously, it's right in the centre of Brighton, next to the beach, so we can charge premiums every night. And then we get cleaners in between the stays. Mm-hmm. So we pay rent to the landlord per month, and then we charge per night on Booking.com and Airbnb. Mm-hmm. And obviously the in-between premium is profit for us.
Yeah. So you're paying, how much are you paying to the landlord?
$12.50.
$12.50. So that's quite a sizable amount of money to be committed to paying. And how long is the contract over?
3 years.
3 years. So you've got a minimum 3-year contract. You're paying $12.50 a month. You started the contract January, so that now it's August. So it's about 8 months. Yeah. Is it making money? What's going on?
Yeah, this is This one really fell into, this one makes triple the amount of both the HMOs.
How much are you making on it?
Between sort of 1,500 to like 1,900, around that.
Nice.
Yeah, this one, especially summer now, it's like peak season. It's like 97 occupancy this month.
Yeah, we're charging like 200 a night at the moment, and it's all the way through because it's a hot month. July, August, and
It's
September.
like nearly 4.5 grand.
What about in the early part of the year though? Like you got this in January. How did it go the first? Like how was it in January?
Yeah, it was tougher in January. Nightly stays were less.
Yeah, we still had high. It was strange. We still had high occupancy, but it's just the nightly rates were less. But we're still able to cover rent and bills and make a little bit on top.
Yeah.
So it wasn't at a loss, but it's just there's a big difference between seasonality in terms of how much you can charge in peak of summer and then in winter times.
And now we've got some reviews and got some credibility.
Yeah. So the fact that you made profit in your first month, which was January, with 0 reviews, and you still made profit on it. I mean, that's on the seaside in January.
And that was it. We got the keys a week early, and we had a week to. It came empty, so we had a week to fully like refurb the place, get everything in, got it in, put it on. Was it like the 3rd of January we listed it? Yeah. And then
Bookings came in
straight away.
Yeah.
How booked up are you now? Are you booked up for September?
Yeah, we're booked. Yeah, but we only. I don't know why, but we only leave 2 months open in advance. We haven't left it for the whole year yet.
Yeah. Why'd you do that?
So basically we'll leave 2 months and then we'll cut it off so you can't book past there, because a lot of people book last minute, so they'll go on booking.com and they'll see, they'll either cancel or they'll see that, there's not many left, so I'm going to have to pay the premium of this one. So if you leave it open early, then people will book straight away, but you can charge more rates the later on, which is kind of a risk. But if you leave a few days of a month open,
yeah. So it's all part of like the strategy of how can we get the most bookings for the maximum pay. Yeah. So you literally making, how much do you say per month on average that one property makes?
1,500 on average.
1,500.
Yeah,
Damn.
this month we made, I think it was about 2k, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And how much were you making when you were at Amazon?
About 2 grand.
Yeah.
So
but that was 6 days a week. That was 6 days a week, overtime pay. Yeah. There was a £2 surplus because of COVID. Yeah. That was just non-stop.
Yeah, it's just average wage like £10-12 an hour.
So the fact that you replaced a wage with one deal is just ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah. That's the thing. We really underestimate SAs, but they're so lucrative, especially in like the height of different seasons.
Why do you think it took you so long? Because obviously you had the service accommodation training right at the beginning, and I know sometimes it's normal. You can't, when you go on all the training programs, you can't do everything at once, and you kind of mastered rent to rent, mastered HMO. Now you're killing service accommodation. But why do you think it took you so long, even when you had the training?
It's a good question. Yeah. I just think because we thought at the beginning SA would be a bit more hard to manage with everything going on, having people in and out all the time. It was just HMO, get people in for 6 months. You don't really have to attend to anything after that. So that's the reason, really.
I think we got it the wrong way around. Yeah. We thought our HMOs would be easier. We'll get our foot in the door, and then we'll go into SAs because it's more complex.
But you can systemize SAs so well, and the income is so much better for 90 stays because you can charge a premium because it's per night rather than per month. So it's like people like yourself as well, even though you can still do these big money deals and buy houses, etc., but you still choose to do SAs because the cash flow is so great and cash flow is just coming in, helps all the time. So.
And also with service accommodation, you're not dealing with tenants, you're dealing with guests, so there's no fear of them not paying rent and having to evict them because they haven't got any rights. If they don't pay the rent, then they just have to go immediately. But I think every strategy has its pros and cons, and it's really important to have like a toolbox and to understand how to do everything so that you can become a property problem solver, speak to landlords and just say, how can I help? Some properties are more suited to HMOs, some will be more suited to service accommodation, but you guys are doing both and killing it. How hard was it getting, like, what would you say the best tips are when you're trying to get a rent to rent? Like what to say to the agents or the landlords?
So this is a funny story. So the first time we ever made a phone call, where were we? We were in Starbucks, upstairs in Starbucks, and Joe called the person who was in like Scotland just practicing, and was like, "Hi, I've seen this property. Could you tell me a bit more about it?" And then the guy was like, "Yeah, what would you like to know?" And Joe was like, and hung up. And they were like, I was like, "No, I'm not having that." So like 2 minutes later, rang him back up. I said, sorry, dodgy connection. And then it was just like, hi, I've seen a property on 123 Norfolk Road. I was wondering if you could tell me a bit more about it. Is that what you want to know?
Yeah,
like,
that was the first ever phone call, wasn't it?
How many bathrooms does it have? Whatever. I'm really interested in it. I would love to come and view it. He's like, yeah, that's fine. Book a viewing. I was like, yeah, it wouldn't be for myself personally, but it'll be for my company. But I'm able to book it on this day. Monday works for me.
Yes.
Hang up. And it's literally, it's just trial and error, and then make 100 phone calls. You get 10 viewings. That's what we done for Brighton. We made 100 phone calls, 10 viewings, put 7 offers and got 1. But it's just keep going. If you get a rejection, that is the game. The game is actually a lot of rejection.
Yeah, and you're not going to be perfect on the first phone call. That's what I learned.
Yeah.
Like the first one, I completely messed it up.
Dude, I remember my first. I went into an agency and I walked in and I had my script ready, and my mouth dried up because I was so nervous and I couldn't speak. I was just. They were like, "Oh, how can we help?" And I was like, like completely, But the thing is, unless you're prepared to actually do it, it's never going to happen. You're going to get better and better. You had obviously a great script, but like you've got to just do it, haven't you?
Yeah, you've got to accept that your first few aren't going to be great.
Yeah.
But it's about learning what works and what doesn't. So at first, when I was calling up agents, I was saying straight away I want to do a company let, and I'd straight away just turn off their ears. And then obviously from your training, I learned that you don't hide it, but you'll say, we'll be under a company let. When's the best day to view it?
Yeah.
And it's just learning what works really, and then your success rate will increase in terms of the amount of bookings and viewings you'll get.
Exactly. And if you say the wrong thing, if you don't know what you're doing and you're doing viewings and you don't know what you're talking about and you're just winging it, you're going to fail 100% of the time.
Yeah.
If you say the right thing and you've got it script perfect, you're still probably going to fail 70% of the time. But then it's a numbers game. Yeah. So it's about knowing what to say, doing the right thing, but also consistently doing it. Exactly. And I think as well, it's so important, in my opinion, to do it like you guys were working together. I think if you're on your own and you're isolated and you're just at home in your bedroom ringing people, after 3 rejections, you're going to quit. Whereas if you can find partners, business partners, accountability buddies, success buddies, be in a community, be in an environment, and you're working together and you're making calls, then it's so much easier. Yeah. Ringing in Scotland as practice, genius, because that way you're thinking, I'm never going to see them ever again. It doesn't matter what happens.
Yeah. And that's exactly when we went to the events. I would never have made a phone call at the like normally at home. We went to the events. You're in the environment, and you're like forced to do it. You meet up with some random person. And you're like, right, here you go. Here's 5 minutes. Make a phone call. You have to make a phone call. Like you're on the spot. You just have to do it, and it gets you out your shell. Yeah. And you grow your confidence so much, and that's such a big thing because property is such a people's like industry. So learning, like going to these events, talking to people, getting the confidence, it helps so much.
Another question is, Danny, now you've graduated. We were over the moon when you graduated. Me and Joe are like, right now, no distractions, and you've just revealed that you're signing up for another year to get your quantity surveying master's degree, which is awesome. But I'm just trying to get the rationale behind why. Yeah. Because you're never going to need a job, and you know that.
Yeah. To be honest, properties, now I know what I want to do. Before I didn't know what I want to do. I knew I was good at sports, so I thought I'd go study a sports degree. Now I know I want to do property, quantity surveying in construction and real estate, and that's just something I'm really interested in. It gives me good credibility. I learn a lot about sort of developments, etc. So I thought it's a 2-day-a-week degree. I can still do my property on 5 days a week regardless. So I thought no-brainer to just go and carry on my education as well.
That makes sense. So how long? It's 2 days a week. Yeah. For how long?
A year.
1 year. Yeah. And that's in quantity surveying, but you've not done any training in quantity surveying already?
No.
So how are you going to get a master's in 1 year, 2 days a week?
So with a master's, not every degree necessarily needed to have studied that subject previously. You just needed a certain grade to get in, which I got, and also you have to say sort of why you want to do it and maybe have some experience in it, which I kind of did doing this property as well. That's why in my personal statement I mentioned what I've been doing and mentioned your name as well and said, I've done Samuel Leeds training as well. I've learned all about this, BRRs, construction contracts, etc. And then obviously they were happy with my personal statement to accept me. Amazing. So 1 year, and then you'll be a master's degree in quantity surveying.
That's great. What's your goals for the future then? Like, what's the vision now moving forward? You've achieved a lot so far at a young age. What's next?
So we want to continue in Brighton getting essays, and we want to be comfortable in replacing our income so we can do that full time, and then go into purchasing and doing BRRs and stuff like that.
Rent's definitely the entry.
It's the way forward.
And then from there, keep on.
And how old are you guys now? I know when you started, I think you were 18 and 19. What are you now, 21, 22?
21, yeah.
You're both 21?
Yeah.
Nice, amazing. And what will be your final words of advice for somebody maybe who's even, a teenager, maybe they're 19, or just starting out in property for brand new? What would your best advice be in the first steps getting started? What would you say?
I would say, if I could go back, what I'd want someone to say to me is, you can do it. And when you're 16, 17, 18, you think that the goals that people are reaching are so far out of touch in your reality, but it's definitely not. It's so achievable. You can be a regular person from a regular background, any background at all. But as long as you put the work in and take action, then you can do it. Just believe in yourself and you can 100% get there. I used to be the guy that thought, oh, maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't. But I just stuck to the action, did the right education, got knowledge on what I was supposed to be doing, and then got there in some sense. So.
Yeah, literally. What we done is we got a job, earned a little bit of money, went and done some education, learned about property, and went and done it. But I think the best thing I can say is, well, a lot of times you'd worry about the XYZ and you would never start the ABCs. So just do the main things at the start, get that sorted, and everything will fall into place. But don't think about, oh, the tap might break. I'm never going to call an agent up, because you haven't even booked a viewing yet and you're already thinking about whatever. So just focus on what needs to get done, get the training, make the phone calls, book the viewings, and then worry about everything later on.
Well, guys, congratulations on your success. Thanks for coming on and sharing, because I think you're going to inspire a lot of people, and we're going to watch your space and see you guys continue to blow.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Awesome, well done. Respect.